happens to all of the food that doesn't get eaten? While diners were enjoying these polished, endless buffets, I went behind the scenes on Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas. Chefs can cook up to 4,000 lobster tails and 40,000 dessert portions daily to serve tens of thousands of meals to see what really happened to their food waste. Cruise ships bucket food waste into two main types. The first type is produced before food is even served. Kitchen scraps from food prep for the ship's 40 different restaurants, bars, and lounges.
Step into the back of almost any restaurant and you'll see a world most diners never think about. Trays of food half-eaten, dishes coming back to the kitchen, pans of ingredients prepped in the morning, but never fully used by night. The truth is, restaurants deal with leftovers every single day. And while food safety laws prevent them from scraping uneaten food off plates and serving it again, the industry has developed countless ways to reuse and repurpose leftovers without you realizing it. It's part creativity, part necessity, and part survival in a business with razor-thin margins.
Workers then compare how much food was served versus how much went uneaten. They use information like this to adjust the food's quantity and portion sizes. The second type comes from the food that's served, but for one reason or another, doesn't make it into passengers' mouths. To reduce this kind of waste, workers measure buffet food items before they're served. After the buffet closes, the leftover food is collected and weighed.
We identify, okay, hey, a third of every steak is coming back. Well, maybe the portion size is too big, and so we may make an adjustment around that. And so there's a lot of strategy we use around that to really make decisions that don't negatively impact the guest, but at the same time reduce waste.
Restaurants can't afford to throw away food at the rate it's returned. Waste means lost money, and in the food industry, every penny counts. So kitchens find ways to give yesterday's ingredients new life today. And no, it's not always shady. Sometimes it's ingenious. But if you thought everything on your plate was cooked fresh to order, you might be surprised to learn just how common leftover reuse really is.
And then travels into the pipes underneath where passengers dine.
So this is where all the food waste are coming through from the various places on the ship.
All of the food waste, including what's left over on passengers' plates, eventually gets sucked into food pulpers, which we weren't really able to see, but got some footage of from Royal Caribbean. MAPS dries the waste and creates pellets that can be turned into fuel for the ship.
The pipes here goes to everywhere there is a galley, so all of these are combined and they will end up here eventually.
One of the most typical methods is turning unsold or unused proteins into daily specials. That roast chicken that didn't sell last night, it gets shredded and shows up the next day in a chicken salad sandwich or folded into enchiladas. The prime rib that wasn't ordered in full gets sliced thin and rebranded as a French dip. Soups are another classic solution. Leftover vegetables, meats, and sauces can be simmered together to create a hearty soup of the day. It's a clever way to minimize waste while offering something that feels homemade and unique. Bread is another item that almost never goes to waste. Yesterday's rolls become today's croutons, breadcrumbs, or stuffing. Stale bread can also be transformed into bread pudding for dessert. That's why you'll often see these dishes on menus. They're not just classics, they're cost savers. Many diners wouldn't even notice, and in some cases, the second life of the ingredient actually makes the dish better. Rice and pasta are similarly repurposed. Leftover rice from one night can be turned into fried rice, stuffed peppers, or soups the next day. Pasta gets baked into casseroles or lasagnas. Restaurants rely heavily on these transformations, since cooked starches have short shelf lives and need to be used quickly before they spoil. Even sauces and garnishes are often reused. That creamy bechamel sauce you thought was made to order? It might have started life as leftover dairy that needed to be cooked down and stabilized. Extra marinara from pizzas might reappear in a pasta dish. And all those side vegetables that didn't sell at dinner? They're likely chopped up and incorporated into omelets or frittatas for brunch service. Buffet-style restaurants are especially reliant on reusing leftovers. While food safety regulations require strict monitoring, much of the untouched food from a buffet line doesn't get thrown away immediately. Instead, it's repurposed into soups, stews, or staff meals. And in some cases, it's simply refreshed, reheated, and put back out the next day. This is one reason why buffets often carry a reputation for food quality that's more about volume than freshness. Seafood is trickier, but even here, leftovers find their way back. Fish that isn't sold as fillets may be flaked into chowders, tacos, or fish cakes. Shellfish scraps might be boiled into stock for bisques. Restaurants that pride themselves on zero waste make sure no part of the animal goes unused, and while that's environmentally sound, it's also a way to squeeze every last cent of value from expensive ingredients. Desserts get the leftover treatment too. Extra pies from one night might be sold as slices the next day. Overripe fruit turns into compote, jam, or pie filling. Cakes that don't sell whole are cut into parfaits layered with cream. It's not uncommon for pastry chefs to plan their menus around what they know will be left over, creating new desserts out of yesterday's odds and ends. It's not all crafty reuse, though. Sometimes the practice veers into questionable territory. Smaller diners and struggling restaurants have been caught reserving bread baskets, recycling side garnishes like lemon wedges, or keeping condiments from return plates. While most reputable places avoid these health code violations, it does happen more than customers realize. After all, when money is tight, the temptation to stretch every resource grows stronger. Behind the scenes, even staff meals are built from leftovers. Restaurant workers often eat family meal, made from ingredients that won't sell but aren't spoiled yet. It keeps food out of the trash and helps feed the team affordably. In some kitchens, this tradition of reusing ingredients for staff has become a point of pride, showcasing chefs' creativity with whatever's on hand. For customers, the reality of restaurants reusing leftovers can be jarring, but it's worth remembering that food waste in restaurants is staggering, and without repurposing, much of it would end up in landfills. When done safely and honestly, reusing ingredients is part of smart cooking. In fact, many of the dishes people love most, soups, casseroles, puddings, originated as ways to salvage leftovers. The real danger is when the line between reuse and recycling crosses into deception. No diner wants to eat food that sat out too long, was reheated multiple times, or came from someone else's plate. The key difference lies in how restaurants manage it. A quality restaurant knows how to turn yesterday's chicken into today's hearty soup without sacrificing safety or taste. A careless one may cut corners that put customers at risk. As a diner, you can usually spot the patterns if you pay attention. Daily specials, especially soups and stews, are often built from yesterday's extras. Bread pudding or croutons usually come from day-old bread. Unusual or mixed dish entrees might be a chef's way of working through leftovers creatively. None of this is necessarily bad, but it's good to be aware. At the end of the day, restaurants reuse leftovers because they have to. Food is expensive, margins are tight, and throwing it all away simply isn't an option. When done well, it's sustainable, efficient, and even delicious. But it also means that the romantic idea of every dish being made from scratch, from brand new ingredients, isn't quite reality. So the next time you bite into a hearty soup of the day or enjoy a sweet bread pudding, remember, you're probably tasting yesterday's leftovers, reborn. And while that may sound unappetizing, it's also a reminder of how kitchens survive. Not just by cooking, but by making sure nothing goes to waste. In the restaurant world, leftovers aren't garbage, they're opportunity.